What happens if you only level up Vitality in Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin? Hello everybody, Stream Your Mind here, back with another Dark Souls 2 challenge. The goal of today's video is to see how impactful Vitality can be and how hard is the game when it's the only stat you can level up. Spoilers, it's about as hard as Miyazaki after he's finished designing yet another barefoot woman character for his game. You can't deny the man's taste is pretty base though. Anyways, if you don't know, Vitality is the stat that increases equip load as well as physical defense, poison resistance, and it also slightly, and I mean like the slightest amount you can think of, increases HP. Last time I did this in Dark Souls 2, I leveled up only ADP and it made the game a lot easier thanks to the extra iframes. This time things didn't go as smoothly as you will see throughout the video. Also, to make things a bit harder on my part, because I love being a masochist, I gave myself the arbitrary rule of not using the Ring of Bindings, which for those of you who don't know, slows the degradation of your health bar after each death, so a really useful item, especially when you have low vigor to begin with. Please consider subscribing to the channel. I only need 300 souls to reach 10,000 subscribers, and it would be amazing if you would join me on this ride. With all that being said, we can finally begin, so let's wear some heavy armor, cry because of the lack of ADP, and let's make a minority rich just like it's a Mr. Beast video.
I'm rich! I'm rich!
After letting your mother sit on me, I remembered my name. Yes, I'm sure my name is Danny DeVito, thank you. I chose the warrior class, made myself look like your average Reddit moderator, kissed grandma goodbye, and I moved on to Mula. Our first objective is to obtain the 4 Lord Souls, and in order to do that, I will need to swap my broken straight sword for an actual weapon. Conveniently, I could pick up the Morning Star, placed on the cliffs right next to the entrance of Mula. Once I got the weapon, my objective was now to upgrade it to +10 as fast as possible. So, I arrived at the Cardinal Tower bonfire, picked up 2 Titanite shards from the Crystal Lizard upstairs, bought the key to the blacksmith, got the lazy bastard to get back to work, took the Dragon Rider out for a swim, won a boxing match with a woman, bought one of the hardest hitting weapons I could use with my stats, and purchased enough Titanite shards to upgrade it to +3. Spent the rest of my souls to level up, returned to the Forest of the Fallen Giants, where I purchased 1 firebomb from Valencia, committed an act of terrorism, and got the life ring and a large Titanite shard for +4 in the room with all the ballistas. I checked in at the clothing shop in Mula to look for something more fashionable, but they didn't have anything my size, so I moved on to kill the last giant. With my +4 mace, I was doing fantastic damage, and since all this boss can do is a total of 3 moves, it's needless to say that I demolished him. Killing the last giant gives us the Soldier Key, which grants us access to the Pursuer, which I obviously ended up cheesing. Oh shit, this wasn't supposed to happen. Oh well, means I have to go old school on him. Killing Pursuer is important for 2 reasons. Firstly, he drops the Ring of Blades, which is a flat 10% increase to physical damage, and secondly, it allows us to take on to the sky to fly to the Lost Bastille, where after picking up the antiquated key and a large tit shard, I committed yet another terrorist attack, and by bringing light into a man's life again, I got another lazy ass to get back to work. I picked up 2 more large Titanite shards in a chest nearby the blacksmith, bought 2 more from the blacksmith himself, and upgraded to +6. Raised my vitality further with the rest of the souls, and I rizzed up Valencia to get her to come back to my place for drinks. Oh yeah, she also sells infinite life gems now. Next up is No Man's Wharf, and there isn't much to say here. I just rang the bell to move the pirate ship and confronted the Flexile sentry. This fight is nothing special. I was hitting harder than my dad, and I almost died because of my greed, but as long as I could bait the side with the 2 maces, it was all good and dandy. And in no time, the Siamese twins went down. Now I could finally take the long-awaiting relaxing cruise I was meant to have for a long time. Direction, the other side of the Lost Bastille. I quickly returned to Mula to level up, unpetrified one of the most hateable characters in the game and lit the bonfire, and I had a taste of the Lost Sinner's long and hard blade. I was gonna say blade. And I got destroyed like a girl in the same room with 5 black guys. So instead, I traveled to Huntsman Copse. I rushed to the boss because there were a few items I would need found in the areas past it, and the skeleton lords were kind of a joke. With 1 swing of the mace, I could dish out massive damage. Also, one of the big skeletons kept throwing these explosion pyromancies that would also damage the smaller skeletons. And I like that. I like that a lot, actually. Thank you, Skeleton Lord. I had to be careful with the skelly wheels, so I made sure to kill them as soon as they spawned in, and another victory was soon achieved. With the path to Harvest Valley now open, I could pick up the Titanite chunk found in the Poison Lake and use it to upgrade to +7. Okay, Now it was my turn to give the Lost Sinner a taste of my not so long and not so hard maze. And I can tell you, I could feel those missing points into ADP. Lost Sinner's range and hitboxes are out of this world, especially the swipe attack and her thrust attack were causing so much pain to my backside. Also, fighting her in the dark wasn't probably the best choice I could make, but I was honestly just too lazy to find the damn key. Luckily, I was hitting like a truck, and it turns out with the correct spacing I could avoid her most deadly attacks. And with a couple of swings I could... Wait, did she just parry me? I only had to hit her with a wet paper towel and she was done. What the hell is this game?
Whoa! No fucking shot, dude!
No worries. We're always learning, and I did get her on my next attempt. 1 out of 4 Lord Souls down. With the souls I just finished acquiring, I was able to reach 50 vitality. So to celebrate my middle-age crisis, I returned to the Harvest Valley and I went to a strip club where I did not tip the dancer. So I was called into the manager's office to have a talk. And we both had some great points, but I came out on top at the end. With the souls I got from the Covetous Demon, I was able to progress Maulin Quest and obtain some new drip. I had to buy something fancy for my date with Mytha, you know. So I went to Ean Peak, committed yet another act of terrorism by burning the town's windmill, and got killed by the locals, rightfully so. Time to turn the snake into a snack. And weirdly enough though, it was Mytha doing the forking, and it was me playing the part of the snack. But as with the Lost Sinner, my damage was more than enough to handle the fight quickly. Do you guys see why I need to upgrade my weapon as fast as I can? The lack of iframes made my rolls kind of inconsistent, so the faster I could end fights, the smaller was the chance for me to fuck up timings and whatnot. Okay, with Mytha out of the equation, we now have access to Iron Keep, which we'll have to wait for now. I returned firstly to Mula to buy some new piece of armor, killed the Crestfallen Warrior for the Ring of Steel protection, and I bought a fragrant branch of York that I used to free Rosabeth. I got the Red Tearstone ring and arrived in the Shaded Ruins, where I picked up a Titanite chunk and found another female boss that doesn't like to wear shirts. It must be for their OnlyFans, I guess. For Nashka, I just used the same strategy I always used, which consists in baiting her tail attack and punish. If you hit the tail enough times, it will get chopped off, which is a neat touch to an easy boss. And just like that, Nashka went down and we got access to Brightstone Seldora. I got some new headgear back in Majula, returned to Farmville, killed the Prowling Megas and Congregation for the slab, went on to pick up the 3 Titanite chunks, picked another one up near the bonfire, and said hello to the dearest spider of all time. Naturally, Freya was as easy as you can expect. Damage was awesome, and by just running from one head to the other, I was able to squish the giant spider under my metaphorical boot. 2 out of 4 Lord Souls were now in my hand. After killing the dude in the room after Freya for the Dark Quartz Ring +1, I returned to Majula to buy the cat ring from a cat. Bought even cooler drip. My current level of vitality was enough for me to practically wear any armor present in the shop without fat rolling, and I dropped down the well to fulfill my destiny. I arrived in the gutter, but before ascending into pure darkness, I returned to Majula and upgraded to +10, meaning that our first objective was finally complete. After descending down the gutter, I arrived in Black Gulch to kill the Rotten, and I put my +10 mace to work. And as you can imagine, he went down in no time. Since he is one of the easiest bosses in the game, which is also the reason why many players find it easier to kill him and respawn him using the bonfire ascetics to reach the 1 million souls to unlock the Shrine of Winter without the need to kill the rest of the Lord Souls bosses. And since I really wanted to avoid going through Iron Keep, I thought I could kill him a couple of more times and skip that Forsaken area completely. So after defeating the boss, I went and got the bonfire ascetic in the Lost Bastille, and while I was at it, I killed the ruined sentinels for good measure. Burnt the ascetic at the bonfire just outside Ryan's boss fight, and after dying like 20 times to the now much more powerful version of this boss, I picked up the Chloranthy ring +1 in the Shaded Woods for better stamina regeneration. While I was fighting the Ryan, I realized that I would have to kill him at least one more time in order to reach the million souls I required. So after finally beating him, I said fuck this plan, and I decided to go through Iron Keep anyways. And turns out, I really had nothing to worry about to begin with. I mean, go figure, I got through it just fine, and the final Lord Soul was waiting for me to be crushed by my mighty mace. This boss is easy. I just hid behind cover every time he would start spitting fire, punish every time he finished an attack. I did almost fall into the small lava pit, but my spider senses kicked in just in time for me to avoid a fall. And just like that, we finally reached the first objective. Now that we had the 4 Lord Souls needed to access Drangleic and I was close to maxing out Vitality, it was time to go after the King's Ring and get some heavy armor to prepare for the endgame. So in order to do that, I returned to the Iron Keep, and after surviving the worst dual archers since Dark Souls 1, I proceeded to whoop the Smelter Demon's ass. As you can see, pun absolutely intended, I was doing a ton of damage. I am proud to say that I was also able to hit him a few times right on his manly parts. Fortunately, the armor I was wearing was sufficient to not take too much damage, so it was a good counter to the lack of iframes I had during dodges. After getting buffed, he did get a little bit more scary, but by the time that happened, it was practically already over, and I kept thinking to myself that the Smelter Demon would actually be a kick-ass barbecue place. But I didn't come here for the Smelter Demon. No. I came here to kill the Pursuer that spawns in the same arena once you've killed the boss. And once I defeated Pursuer again, he was so impressed at my exceptional skills that he dropped for me the Ring of Blades +1. With this slight damage increase, I was ready for Drangleic Castle like never before. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I had trouble with the Dragon Rider duo.
Oh, you stink!
Yeah, laugh at me how much you want. I'm a fraud and I don't deserve to hold a controller. I know, but hear me out please. It was like they were perfectly synchronized to give me the worst time I could possibly have. It was during this fight that I realized that Vitality increasing health is a fucking lie. Or it sure feels like it, because I was getting smacked left and right. Obviously, some Dark Souls 2 bullshit had to come up at some point. And also, can somebody explain to me why the hell the doors close every time you die? This was such an infuriating waste of my time while trying to get back to the boss. I'm still questioning whether the devs were smoking battery waste on the job. Eventually, I was able to beat them, while in my other attempts I tried to focus on the first mob while letting the archer spear me undisturbed. This time I instead decided to go after the archer right after he would join the battle, as his health is really low, and killing him meant I would have more breathing time with the other morbidly obese rider of dragons. So after more deaths than I would like to admit, I finally put the duo to rest. I was now one step closer to max out Vitality, so after acquiring the key to the King's Passage, I went on to fight the Looking Glass Knight. And don't get your hopes up, because unlike the twin Dragon Riders, I actually handled this boss just fine. I did die in my first attempt because of bullshit, and after another successful practice run, it was time to put my head in the game Zac Efron style and take the sexually confused knight down. So I masterfully dodged his jump attack, waxed my carrot in front of him just like a real Chad would do, and started wailing on him. The rain made my lightning resin extremely effective. Even the summons were powerless. Instead, they turned out to be useful in avoiding some damage by backstabbing them at the right time. As usual, I did almost choke and die at the end of the fight, but I was able to recover, finishing off the job and moving on to the next area, which is Shrine of I Hate This Forsaken Game of Amana. But before delving into that shithole, I returned to Sim for the Emerald Herald a bit more, while finally reaching 99 Vitality, and I bought the Looking Glass Knight armor piece as it is the best armor available in the shop at the moment. Unfortunately for now, I was still clueless on a detail about Dark Souls 2 that I completely missed during all these years of playing, but more on that later. Okay, now I really do look fabulous, so let's cry a mana river, cause we are about to get wet. Get it? Cry a mana river, a mana shrine of a mana, or whatever. Shrine of Amana was next on my to-do list, and unfortunately for me, it was the biggest obstacle of the run. My original plan was to get the short bow, buy a bunch of lightning arrows in Drangleic, and snipe every enemy from afar like a lesser version of Robin Hood. Because I'm not here to steal from the rich and give back to the poor, I'm here to cheese the area so I don't have to worry about it ever again. Or at least, until my next Dark Souls 2 challenge. Anyways, this plan went up in smoke once I realized I couldn't wield a short bow because I was missing dexterity, so I tried to outrun the enemies, but I was practically doing a soul level 1 run at this point, just with better armor, and because of my stupid no ring of binding rule, I was chewing through effigies like candy, which caused a snowball effect on the later parts of the game, as it is a pretty rare item to come by. I realized only after dying like a million times that I only needed 1 point in dexterity, and this meant that there was only one thing I could do. So I traveled back to the Forest of Fallen Giants, did some sick parkouring tricks, I passed on the balls, and I bullied some nerd for his helmet, which gives +1 dexterity while decreasing your heterosexuality by 20 levels. And now I could finally become the better version of Chris Kyle, because I do not die at the end of this movie. The damage still sucked major ass, don't get me wrong, but it was a huge improvement compared to the damage I was doing before. So slowly, and as stealthy as I could be, one by one, I sniped everything in my sight and beat everyone who stood in my way. I summoned Schmidt, aggroed the worst 3 enemies of the entire base game, and had my ass saved by the summon, so turns out summoning was the best choice. I could now get through the fog door completely undisturbed and finally reach the bonfire safely. Unfortunately, my pain wasn't just over yet, as the game had to give me a last middle finger in the form of an invader that shoots sorceries that one-shot me. Honestly, I don't feel like this armor is any different from the last in terms of damage negation. You know, I burst out laughing when this happened, not gonna lie. Oh, foreskin of dung. You know, I actually like this boss. Too bad he's really easy. Wait. First I died to the Dragon Rider duo and now I died to this guy? What the hell is this playthrough? Well, I know why. I mean, I have the tiniest health bar, no iframe, and I'm also playing Dark Souls 2. Anyways, I'm sure second try will be much, you piece of shit. Fortunately, everything was going better on my third attempt. He was a bit more jumpy than usual, but all I had to do was just wait for him to come out of his foreskin and punish him. Once Kermit the Frog was taken out, I arrived at the Undead Crypt. Completely ignored everything Aldia was saying to me, had the pleasure to meet with this edgelord, Vendrick? Seriously bro, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. I'm not here for the lore, I'm just here for the memes. I bought some effigies from him, even though mom always told me to not take candy from strangers. Good thing she doesn't know what I was doing in college. Anyways, I unlocked a shortcut to the boss, but before going to fight it, I returned to Black Gulch to kill the giants and obtain the key. I traveled to the gutter and got the best armor in the game, Havel's armor. So I returned to Majula to level it up. Wait, what is this? Why is there a red number here? Hold on, Kanye. You're telling me that armor has stats requirement in this game? And to make things worse, Looking Glass armor also has stats requirements that I don't meet? I hate this game. And to the fanboys, I'm kidding. I love this game. Well, all I could do now was just to take out my anger and disappointment on Velstadt. Now that Velstadt went to meet his god, I could finally put my hands on the King's Ring, which grants us access to the third and last part of the game. I then bought Velstadt's gear, killed the Guardian Dragon, got the Holy Dragon Seaman, killed the Giant Lord again, got all the giant memories so I could kill the Pickle King, and killing Vendrick resulted in quite a pickle of itself honestly, as he actually hits much harder than even my dad. But then I remembered the good old strategy of hiding behind his left leg and attack. After Vendrick Lamar was dead, it was time to show the same level of cheese to the Godskin duo. So I got Throne Defender to trip and fall over the edge, and then it was a one-on-one with me and good old Grandpa over here. Needless to say, this old boomer incel could do nothing against the power of my years of experience spent on Reddit, and he died of cringe. For Nashandra, I decided to summon the entire Goon Squad because I was simply done with this playthrough, and I think you are as well. And now for the award of worst final boss ever made. Welcome everybody, Aldia! Seriously, why does this guy exist? I always thought Nashandra was underwhelming, but this guy. I get that he is important for the lore, but the entire fight felt like an unnecessary slog. Anyways, he did some stuff, I hit back whenever the game decided I could, and just like that I beat Dark Souls 2 by just leveling up Vitality. So, what does happen when you only level up Vitality in Dark Souls 2? Well, you get a slightly better experience than doing a pure soul level 1 run because you can wear some decent equipment, but at the same time, you can't really use any of the better armors in the game. So it's pretty clear that it is a stat that shines best in synergy with the rest of the stats, and unlike ADP, it cannot carry a run by itself. Anyways guys, thank you for watching. This was a really fun video to make. So I hope you'll enjoy it enough to like it, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below what run I should do next. Alright guys, this is all I've got in the bag for today. Thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time.